Hello and welcome to Roll20Con. My name's Carlos Luna, and this is Dustin Fletcher. Roll20Con is 3 days of gaming for our Roll20 community, where we play games and we raise money for charity. The charity this year is Code 2040. It helps support people of color in the gaming industry, in the tech industry in general. So if you noticed right down below, you can make a donation in our Tiltify. Every little bit helps. Today we're going to be going through Power Rangers role-playing game, this is the first look, I think. The first look on the interwebs of this game.
Yeah. I think so too. The very first ever you dive into this system, the Essence 20 system. I'm super excited. And we might know a thing or two about the Power Rangers.
For sure, yeah. For those of you who don't know, Dustin and I just played a Power Rangers RPG. When did we record? Over the summer. Over the summer we got a chance to play.
This summer, yeah.
Yeah, we're some of the few people out there that actually have played this game, and Dustin knows it way better than I do. He was the GM for this, and the Essence system. Can you tell people about the Essence system in general?
So the Essence 20 system is a brand new system that was created to go along with the Power Rangers RPG, the Transformers RPG, the G.I. Joe RPG, and even, I believe, just recently announced the My Little Pony RPG.
Oh, is that a fact?
That is a fact,
That is a fact. Okay. I'm gonna bleep this out if that's not a fact. There'll be a bleep right there, and then everyone can speculate. Everyone can speculate
live, in person at GameholeCon. So totally, I'm just gonna assume that it's fine.
Gotcha. So let's jump right in. If you are watching this, we are about to jump into Power Rangers role-playing game. We are going to talk about the Essence system, character creation. We're going to go through a character build. So if you're watching this later on when it's on YouTube as a VOD, we're going to jump right into a character build, a level 1 character build. And then after that, where do we go? We're going to take a look at an encounter, right? How to run.
I think we're gonna take just a little look at the kind of starting encounter that's in the back of the book. I don't think we'll get too far into it because we don't want to spoil too much of it, but we at least want to give a little demonstration of how the system works after you build your character and how just a fun system it is. It is such an incredibly fun, engaging system. I mean, just thinking back to just playing at the table with you all for Day of Destiny, it was just that energy that this system brings, with all of the fun stuff that I don't want to tease anything just yet. We'll get into it, but there's a lot of fun mechanics in the system.
A lot of fun mechanics, especially if you're coming from a role-playing background, a heavy role-playing background. And if you've never played, here's the other thing too. If you've never played an RPG, I think this is the perfect RPG to start with. Just because I feel like you can do anything, and already going into it with okay, if you know and love Power Rangers, great. A lot of heavy lifting is done for you, and you already know about the world. So recreating that world in a gameplay is kind of easier than just here's a land I've never heard of. Here's a bunch of words I've never heard of. Here's a bunch of folklore I've never heard of. That might be a little bit more difficult if that's your first RPG. But this, I feel like it's pretty good.
For sure. And, this first book, the core rule book, kind of focuses on the Zordon era, but it's such open that you can really put it in anything. And the system itself is there to where, a lot of the stuff focuses on that Zordon era. But if you know Power Rangers and you know all of the other genres and various Power Ranger story arcs, this system sets it up easily for you to adapt that into that even before those other books come out. So that way, when those other books do come out, you're like, oh, this is even perfect now. And you can help fill in those gaps to where things are going. But it is just, you literally create your own Power Ranger, your own setting, your own world, everything. You're not tied to just, you have to play these canon characters. No. You can literally make your own personal Power Ranger storyline.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to mention, especially if you've never played an RPG before, RPG role-playing game. you can build you're building your own Power Ranger. You can base it off of other Power Rangers, but you definitely don't have to, and you're not expected to either, right? Like you don't have to build Tommy. You can build whoever you want it to be. It could be based off Tommy, but it's your own version of that. And what this book does, it takes you a step by step through the process of building a Power Ranger and then playing that. Like, what does that look like? So we're going to take you into it right now. Without any further ado, let's jump into character creation. Can you break down character creation for us in like kind of a step?
Yeah, absolutely. So with character creation, you have 4 main aspects that you want to look at that really set everything up. And that is going to be your character origin, your character role, your influences, and then the essence points themselves, which is what the entire system is based off of, being the Essence 20 system. And it's called the Essence 20 system because it's still a D20 system, a dice system, to where you're going to be rolling a D20 as your main die, unlike a few of the other ones like a D6 or a D10 system. So it still holds that D20 system. So if you come from other D20 systems, easily able to pick that up and flow with it. But again, like you were saying earlier, Carlos, if you've never played a role-playing game before, this system is so easy to pick up and learn.
Yeah.
So moving into Origins, so the rulebook is so incredible, and it has a chapter dedicated to character creation. And we're going to start in that chapter, and we're going to go right down that list with step 1, which, is that concept, the character concept of, what do I want to play? Do I want to play, the jock, martial artist, yada, yada? Do I want to be this like timid, shy, not really sure where I'm, what I'm doing, and just kind of fumbling my way through? Do I want to play the tech savvy with a twin brother who's a movie star?
Yes, obviously. There's a bunch of things that you can choose. And if you have something in your mind, the book does a good job at picking out all these major archetypes for you. So like you could be cynical or kind or the oddball, and whether or not whatever you choose has its own type of like bonuses that come with it, right? So like it could affect like your starting health or like bonus skills or stress based,
Exactly. Your origin is very like reminiscent to like races or species or other things from other RPG systems. So it's going to give you your base starting abilities, and that's going to be, your base movement, your skills. This is a very heavy skill-based system. Everything is reliant on skills, and that kind of plays into everything that you're going to do, and all of the dice rolls that you're going to make throughout this is going to be doing skill-related rolls.
Gotcha.
So let's dive into Origins. Even with your character, concept. I'm going to leave this up to you, Carlos, to build this character. Or we can kind of play off of it together. Either one is fine with me. I think let's just have fun and go with it. But
yeah. So I mentioned Green Ranger Tommy. I mentioned Tommy. So let's try to build like a Tommy type character, right? Like,
and I think that would the Green Ranger actually would work perfect, because the Green Ranger is the loner, and so the lone wolf. And so it's just me running it for you, I think it makes perfect sense that we do a Green Ranger that kind of stands alone and can easily, work in the shadows on their own without having that team, because the Sixth Ranger usually is the one that comes and goes on the Power Ranger team.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll just say that after running through the character creation before, if I can see it working 2 different ways, and I might be getting ahead of you right now, like getting ahead of this entire process.
That's fine. Whatever. We're having fun with it.
This is for, I make this little caveat in terms of someone that, I've been known to power game sometimes. I've been known to like really stat my characters up. I feel like the way the book puts it in order for you is very natural and a very way of like evolving a character step by step. But if you're very stat focused and very much like you want to wring out every single point in that and like really distribute things the way you like to, you might you might want to do it backwards. Maybe I don't know if that's the best way to say. I feel like doing it backwards, and yeah, that's all I'll say about that. I feel
it all depends on you as a person and how you build your characters. Do you want to start with your essence score first before you go into your other stuff and getting all your bonuses that are going to increase that score?
Yeah.
Or do you want to see all your bonuses first and then add in your score, your essence points once you have all those bonuses, so you can see where you want to pick and choose?
Yeah. Like fill in the blank. Do you like filling in the blanks, or do you like evolving a character, slowly? It really depends on like what type of game you like building up. Yeah,
absolutely, for sure. So we're going to go down the steps and start with origin. Now there are some really fun origins that are in this, and I'm just going to quickly go through them.
Yeah.
Just so we can get a feel for what's in here. So you have athletic, which is like your athlete moving, your track runner, your football player, etc. Brainy, your smart kid. Comedic, which we know that was our boy HQ was a comedian.
I loved it. It had a fun bonus.
It did indeed. Curious, cynical, kind, which Riley was kind.
Yeah.
Your oddball, which is, the goofball kind of off the wall type. Popular, the popular kid. Rebellious, and tragic. And that is it. Tragic is the last one.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, he's rebellious, right? Like,
oh yeah,
totally rebellious. Which, yeah, I think it totally fits. And again, like when we look at all of these, there is no specific thing that you need to pick for your colored ranger, right? Like your range, you can pick any colored ranger for anything. And if you notice, we haven't even picked the color yet, right? Like we're just building the origin story of our ranger. Like where did they start from? And like, yeah, rebellious, punks, delinquents, activists. Yeah. What do we got here?
So with rebellious, you'll have starting health 2. You'll get a bonus increase to either your strength or your speed, depending on which you want to go with. So what do you think? Are you thinking more like he's going to be like quick off the cusp, or are you going to be more strong and strength based?
I think kind of strong and strength based, okay. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So with that, with the strength, that's going to give you some specific starting skills that you automatically will get to bubble in the D2 at, which, over here on that, we can just kind of go down that list on the character sheet under the strength column. And you can see here that with rebellious, with your strength, you're going to automatically get a bubble in on brawn, intimidation, and might.
Gotcha.
All be bubbled in right there on that D2 bubble.
So you'll notice that in each like origin, it'll say strength, it'll say some type of base, right? Like it'll ask you for some type of base. So it could be like strength base or social base, and you have to choose between which one you want to go with. You don't get both of them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Some of them you can choose between all 4. And once you choose that one, there'll be a list of starting skills that you'll automatically get based on that starting essence increase that you take with your origin.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Our ground movement, starting movement, is 30 feet. And the origin benefit, which, as you were saying, every origin kind of gets this boon. And so being rebellious, you can't tell me what to learn, is what the origin bonus is. Yeah. And so with that, the rebellious origin defies the system. They learn skills and trades that aren't of the norm. So basically what that means is anytime you have the prerequisite for it, starting out, you can start with a perk. Now that's awesome because normally you don't get a perk until 4th level. So
gotcha.
With that rebellious origin, you can immediately get a perk and kind of start off with that little bit of extra oomph in that character to kind of help fill in your kind of where you came from, what you did, and kind of take that perk to do that. And
we're not going to get too into perks just because we're building a level 1 character right now.
Yep.
And perks kind of come in a little bit later on in the game. We'll touch on it, but we're not going to go in depth in it. And you'll kind of see why as we're building this character. And by then, like, by the time you're at 4th level, you're going to know you're going to remember like all this stuff. It starts to make sense because you're literally just building a human, right? Like you're building a person with a personality, a background, an origin story.
Yeah. So the origin is what you were before you got called to be a ranger, before the Morphin Grid chose you to be a Power Ranger. So who were you? Who were you as a person? What makes your character? What personality traits? Things like that, which will really come into play once we get into influences a little bit later on. But before that, let's go ahead and move into the role.
Yeah.
Now, the role is your ranger color. Now, with this role, we're going to be the Green Ranger. So let's go ahead and dive into that aspect over here. And we'll put in the character sheet right here, we'll fill in green right there. And that will kind of move us over to kind of go down this list of what we've got going on with the Green Ranger role.
So from the jump, there's like a table, kind of an overview table that goes through the energy colors and kind of a description and the essence adjustments that you would get from selecting that. So one, started off for origin. That's who I am before I was a ranger. And now rangers themselves, like black, blue, green, pink, red, and yellow, they all have their own special benefit. And some of them have like disadvantages, right? Or there's maybe not disadvantages, but some just have bigger perks than others, I guess I should say.
Of course, and it just depends on what role you're playing, which is why it's called a role on the team. Your Red Ranger is going to be more of the leader role because the Red Ranger, through Power Ranger history, has been the leader of the team. But that doesn't necessarily mean that your Red Ranger has to lead.
Exactly.
That's the great thing about tabletop role-playing games is you can literally do anything you want, and your story is just as canon as anything else out there.
Exactly. Yeah, you really can mix and match. So if you are a big Power Rangers fan and you're like, oh, I always like this person and think they would have been better as like a Red Ranger, or I think they would have been better as a Pink Ranger. Mix and match, like just try it out and then see what that type of character would be as a different color.
Absolutely. And that's something that you can do with this system. And it's something I love, just like Archean, which is one of the very first male Pink Rangers. Our good friend Xander played Kian, and it was so amazing to see him take on that role that has predominantly been a female role, and to step in and just own it.
Which I don't get. I want that bow. Like I just want it. Like, yeah.
It's a pretty bow, and those abilities were fun. But let's see what the Green Ranger does.
Yeah. So you're going to go in these sections, and each in the roles section, it's after the big table at the top, the big overview table, you'll see each section for each color. So you can read up on it. They kind of break it down into, what are the sections that they break it down into? Personal power, training, what else is there?
So you'll have your personal power and your training, your equipment that you start with. Your starting equipment will be kind of the first little things that you will get just right off the bat, right at first level you'll automatically have that, just being chosen by that, or you choosing, you as the player choosing, thus making the Morphin Grid choose your character of what role you play.
Oh, we should say this before people get too far into this. At what level do you get your Zord?
Oh, you do not get your Zord until 3rd level.
3rd level. So if you are watching this and you are building your character as we speak right now, and you think you're going to have your Zord at the end, you are mistaken. So be prepared. If you're starting this for a campaign with your other players, and from the jump you want them to have Zords, you need to start them at level 3. So
at level 3.
Level 3. Yeah.
Yep. And it is a 20 level system. So it is a build up, and you will grow, and your Zords will grow, and you'll grow in power as you continue to move up through the, fighting the forces of evil, trying to destroy the world and whatnot. But 3rd level for your Zords. Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
All right. So moving into that. So your personal power as a Green Ranger. So personal power some classes immediately start off with personal power abilities, whereas a few others don't get it until a little bit later on. But your personal power is how you activate some of your abilities. And then every role will have a personal power regeneration that they can get. And that's when they just kind of have downtime after a battle or after a scene ends. They can regenerate all of their personal power a certain number of times a day. So if you have a lot of battles in a day, or you use a lot of your abilities in a day, for the Green Ranger, it's 3 times a day. So 3 times a day, you can reset your personal power back to full, which the starting one is 2.
Gotcha.
Your armor training that you get is light and medium armor, and that determines your morphed toughness, which is kind of how it determines under your strength category, which we'll get into once we begin to start filling out those essence scores and those essence points and filling into your skills a little bit later on as we get through the actual personality of the character. So your starting skills right off the bat, just from being a Green Ranger, you get might and conditioning. You'll automatically get a D2 or the next available bubble if you already have a D2 in something. You'll get that in. And now conditioning is very important, because conditioning is the only way that you can increase your health in the Essence 20 system. So with that, we start at health 2. We already get a conditioning +1. So we already know that we're going to have at least health 3 moving into the final product. And then we'll figure out if we want to increase that as we get our essence.
Can you show that on the character sheet?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So right here is where your conditioning is, and you'll see that the bubbles are +1, +2, +3, +4, and those are accumulative. So basically, when you get +1 and then another +1, not +2 to make it +3, so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
And then might will bubble in might right there, and then we get to choose either finesse or initiative.
Gotcha.
So with the Green Ranger, I believe depending on what weapon you choose, which we'll get to, that'll determine if you're going to be more finesse based or more strength based or more might based, if you will, because you already have 1 bubble in might. So maybe taking a finesse isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, so we'll go ahead and bubble in a D2 in finesse right there.
And we should say we're going to go over what these mean in gameplay while you're playing it. Like, these
absolutely
all have there is pros and cons for why you would take certain scores in certain places. So once we have this all like laid out, we'll go over it and we'll be able to say like, okay, well, if we would have picked, this instead of that, this would have happened. So
absolutely.
Don't worry about that. If you're watching this right now, don't worry about that right now.
We're saying
you shouldn't know everything right now.
Yeah, and we're saying a lot of words that we're just breezing over. It's okay. We promise we'll explain everything as we move forward. We're just trying to get the character sheet filled out right now.
Yeah.
And then once that happens and we get into gameplay, then we'll really start to explain how things work.
That's the power gamer to me, right? Like, cause that's what I'm thinking about right now. I'm just like, ooh, but do I want that? What does that do? As we build it, this is where it's going to come into play of like, as we build it, you're going to be like, oh, I really want to know everything. So you might end up like devouring this book, to have all the answers to all the questions that you're having. But right now we're just building it naturally. And we're trying to build it based on kind of personality, right? Like what we imagine. Yeah,
absolutely. So after we get our starting skills done from being a Green Ranger, we'll get our grid equipment. Now, every Power Ranger will have 3 main items. Your Riscom, which is how Alpha 5 and Zordon will call you where you'll hear the do 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 do.
Yeah.
At which point that'll then move us to our Power Morpher. And if you've ever seen the big giant belt buckle that is on the waistband, that is the Power Morpher. The Power Coin fits perfectly into that. Yes. Except if you are the Green Ranger, which they does have the Power Morpher, but also has a unique weapon, which again we'll get into in a second, which will house a variation of that coin as well, which kind of plays into the fun thing about the Green Ranger.
Yeah. And
then lastly, your Blade Blaster, which you'll have on kind of the holster on your side, which is both a dagger and a ranged weapon.
And most of these Rangers have pros and cons. They all have bonuses too. So they all have something that makes them just like a little bit unique. And the Green Ranger definitely has something that makes them unique when you choose them. But it's not to say that all the other Rangers are the same across the board, and the green one is the only unique one. Like, everyone has something unique in the game system.
Absolutely. And it is all about that teamwork, because Power Rangers is all about working as a team, and this system showcases that through and through. But let's get to features, your role features, your special abilities, and things you get from being a Power Ranger and infused with that Morphin Grid. The most important one, it's Morphin Time, which takes a standard action to do, but as you do so, you literally shout the words, "It's Morphin Time." Make sure you hold up your hands and hold out that Power Morpher with Power Coin.
I don't care. I don't care how old you are. I don't care. You gotta do it, okay? Yep. You have to say "It's Morphin Time" at the table. If you're playing this game, you're legally required to do that.
Yep. And depending on what era of Power Rangers you play, depends on what you say. That's when true. It is Morphin Time. But for this, we're going to go with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And with the Green Ranger, that would be the Dragon Zord. And so with that, would shout, "It's Morphin Time," hold it out there, and say Dragon Zord. And then the transformation happens. But with that, you get some bonuses. You'll get a toughness bonus based on the armor that you're wearing. That's where that medium armor I was telling you about. So that would be +2, which would go in under your strength under armor, right under the morphed area, just under the strength and toughness here over here. You can kind of see that. And that armor bonus +2 would go right there when you are morphed. So you get a little bit tougher once your suit is on.
And as we're filling this out, you'll actually notice that there's kind of like this little equation that we're making under each of those 4 categories. And, we're going to add those up. It'll also do things. I don't want to get ahead of us, but yeah, that's what's happening in there.
Yeah. And again, we'll go into more detail of that once we start getting into the essence points spending and things like that. So we're just kind of filling in the little blanks right now, and the more we go, we'll explain it then. So next up, you'll also, as a free action, you can summon any single power-based weapon to your hands, like the Power Sword or the Power Bow or the Power Lance, things like that, that really help defeat, the forces of Rita and Zed and other things out there. And the other thing is, when reduced to 0 health, instead of being defeated, because this is Power Rangers and you get defeated and knocked unconscious, but with your suit, you can immediately demorph. Going to your natural form, you're knocked unconscious, but at 1 health, so you're not defeated.
Gotcha.
All right, so Solo Strike. Green Ranger is a lone wolf, so at first level, you get the ability Solo Strike, which means you do a little bit better when you're fighting things by yourself. So when you make a single attack against a foe or a target that no one else is around, hit or miss, you may shift up on your dice. Now, that's a great thing about the Essence 20 system, is you can shift up and have shift down, because this system is all about dice pools. Yeah. You are building a dice pool with your skills. And so you don't have +3 to this, +7 to this, +8 to this. It's all about the dice you roll. And so determining what dice you have. So for instance, right now we have a might of a D2. So if we were to shift up to that, from that might, making a might attack, we would roll a D20. And with that Solo Strike, we would roll a D4 because it was shifted up. Now, certain things your GM may do are a little bit harder or more difficult. So they may say, hey, go ahead and make this check, but shift it down instead. Or if you're working with a team, you may get a shift up because you're working together to do things. And that's a great thing about the system, and how it really just helps make challenges more unique, because even if you have no dots or dice in a skill, depending on where the shift goes, you could still be proficient in it based on those around you, the scenario, the situation. Yep. It all depends on where you are and what you're doing in the story.
Yeah, so shifting up, shifting down, really, really easy. And if you're running this game, pretty easy to use in a storytelling way, right? Like to throw it in there. While I feel like again, this system really lends itself to like storytelling and role playing. And if you can think of a reason as a GM, like you can make a shift. You can make a shift up or down.
A great example that I like to use is you're climbing a wall and it's raining. And so you're going to have a downshift to your athletics check because it's wet and slippery. So
And
that's
like in the game, what's happening is we are taking one of your dice away, right, from the dice pool.
Exactly. So we're taking you from wherever your highest dice is that you roll down one to, if you're at a D6, we're bumping that down to a D4. So you roll a D4 instead of a D6.
Yeah, your dice pool is going to go in order, like D2, 4, 6, what is it, 8, 10, 12, 20?
8, 10, 12, yep.
Yeah, 8, 10, 12, yeah. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a good time to remind people that they are watching us on Roll20Con, and that we are raising money for code 2040. They help people of color in the tech industry, and there's a link right down below. You can make a donation. If you are liking the stream, please make a donation. I believe we're the first ones to show you Power Rangers, and if you're liking it, that'd be fantastic. Roll20Con is 3 days of gaming for charity. If you go to roll20con.net, you can sign up for games right now that we have going on. So you can jump into like a Pathfinder game or a Call of Cthulhu game. Some people are running Shadowrun or the Fate system, any type of RPGs. If you've never played RPGs before, if you're just kind of curious, like, hey, what's this like? I've heard of Dungeons and Dragons. You can go to that site right now, and there's tons of people putting on games of all different levels. People that have never played before are going to this website right now and picking a game to play for the day or for the weekend. After this stream, there is a stream of what's new on Roll20. That's at 2 p.m. You can tune in for that. We're making all sorts of announcements on what's going on the platform. And then after that, at 4 p.m., you can join Gabe Hicks and Elise Renendez as they walk you through their new game, The Festival of Emeralda. That is a game that we're giving away for free for this weekend for Roll20Con. So definitely check that out. Let's go back to building this character, though.
All right. So we are through the solo strike, and the last ability that you get at first level is your unique weapon. And as we know, the core Mighty Morphin unique weapon for the Green Ranger was the Dragon Dagger. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. If you're making your Green Ranger, there's a list of 4 different unique weapons that you can choose from: a ranged weapon, a small melee, which would be the Dragon Dagger, a versatile melee, so like a long sword or something along those lines, and even like a 2-handed weapon that you can kind of make your own and just design it however you want it to be. But maybe we are doing the Mighty Morphin.
Maybe your Green Ranger uses nunchucks. Who knows?
Yeah,
it could be.
Maybe
you could use it. Yeah,
you could. Yeah, I don't, because I would hit myself in the face.
I have no idea how to do that. That doesn't make sense.
Terrible. And,
yeah.
I'd like to think I'm awesome, but it would just be. But so of those 4, which unique weapon do you want to go with?
It's the Dragon Dagger. I mean, if you have the opportunity, you have to take it. Like, you have to. Not for people at home. Make whatever character you want. Make whatever weapon you want. But, when in Rome.
I love it. All right. So that's first level Green Ranger. So we're going to go ahead and move to the next step, and that is your influences.
Yes.
Influences are where your character, like, how did they get to where they are? What influenced them to become the person that they are through their origin? So the great thing about influences is you can take up to 3 different influences. However, everything past the first one, so your second and third one, will come with what's called a hang up. And so that's going to be a flaw that kind of helps with a role play scenario based on the influence that you choose. So let's kind of go through these. Again, I'm going to just kind of speed through these. I don't want to spend too much time on them just because that'll take literally all day.
Yeah.
But if any of the ones kind of stick out to you, or you're feeling with your Green Ranger here, then that's what we'll do. We'll kind of go from there. So with your influences, you have all of your influences will come with a perk, with an influence perk, just like an origin perk,
Yep.
As well as, like I said, the hang up, but it'll also give you characteristics of like how to just give you, things to help with your role play and help like kind of flesh out that character, especially if you're playing for the first time, you're not really sure what you want to play or what it means, or you're having trouble coming up with those. The great thing about these influences is they kind of give you these really cool, just like blurbs to help kind of explain and fill in some of those personality traits.
Yeah, and this section won't be affecting your character sheet in a hard way, in a big way where it's like, oh, subtract this, add this, that type of thing. This is more to help influence gameplay at the table. Like, again, if you are new to RPGs, or if you have people at the table who are new to RPGs, this section really helps with that. And honestly, like it's going to help everyone. It doesn't even have to be like a new person, but it'll be, you'll be in a situation where you're like, okay, well, Carlos knows what to do, or Carlos can navigate this type of thing. But maybe the character can't, or maybe the character has been influenced in some way that it makes it easier or harder for them based on whatever that influence is that they had in life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so your influences on the character sheet, you'll see here that they will go right here in this influence box, kind of right next to your personal power and where your health is. And then under that will where any of your hangups will go if you happen to choose more than one and get a hangup. Yeah. So we're going to quickly go through these just to kind of get a feel of what's out there. Your artisan, your caretaker, a community helper, humble roots, martial artists. That's definitely Power Rangers right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Nomad. And nomad, you basically just kind of grew up roaming around and moving around and kind of being, kind of on, like maybe you were a military kid and your dad or your mom worked in the military, and so you were constantly moving. So that's what nomad is. And I am describing nomad because there's also another one called not from around here. Not from around here literally means you're not from around this earth, or you are either an alien or a robot or a clone or something. Like there's something just really unique and weird about you. And so that's what not from around here is. So nomad would be the one that's like, you're not from Angel Grove.
Yeah.
Not from around here would be you're not from Earth.
Which I really like that too, because like that even gets you out of the box even more, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that really, how your character makes choices is completely different now, right? Because it's seen through a lens of like, I'm not even from this planet. I don't even know what this is.
Exactly. Yeah. And we may or may not have had a not from around here on Day of Destiny.
That's true. Check that out, by the way. We're doing a plug in the middle of a charity stream. Anyways, go.
All right. Next up is student.
Yep.
Survivor. Teacher. And that would be the last one.
I think that's it. Yeah. So once again, we're going to pick between 1 and 3. If we pick 2 or 3, we get a hang up, right?
Yep.
And right off the bat, I feel like we need to pick 2 because, we're kind of building Tommy. So martial artists, it's got to be martial artists.
Yep.
And I kind of like Nomad. I feel like, not from around here.
Yeah.
In a real
cool. So right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right here in the box, we'll go ahead and fill in Nomad and Martial Artists, and you'll get a perk from each. So your influence perk from Nomad is going to be, you have a strong ability to read people and their motivations, and due to how fast you have need to make new friendships, you're a really good judge of character. So you gain edge on all social tests when attempting to gain insight into someone's motives or to see if they're lying to you. And you have edge on any knowledge tests about cities you may have lived in. And that's a great time to talk about edge. Yeah. So edge is really easy. If you ever have edge on a roll, you roll a d20, you roll 2 d20s, and you take the higher. If you have snag, you roll 2 d20s, you take the lower. That's it.
Gotcha.
Simple as that.
So it's different than shifting. It's similar
Correct.
to shifting. It's very similar to shifting, but it's different in terms of is this more like storytelling then? Like this would be used in more of a because shifting would have to like it's directly in my skills, right? It's directly in my smarts or my
Yep.
social or whatever. What would you consider this being in? Like,
So this would be, so let's say, if you and a teammate are attacking someone and, you're flanking. And so you've got the upper hand. Instead of shifting up, you would gain edge on that, or you could gain edge on that roll to make the attack a little bit easier. And you can have a shift and an edge on something. So you could have something like, let's say you are really good at computers and you are working. And so you are doing something with you're super familiar with, so you'll have edge on it and someone else is helping you. So you'll shift it up. And so you can, it all depends on your GM.
Yeah.
And it just gives the GM something else just to help with scenarios and situations.
Yeah. I kind of picture it almost like if shifting has to do with more like your abilities or the abilities on the sheet, and the snag or the edge has more to do with possibilities, like possibilities in the world, right? Like there's a fork in the timeline. It's just like, and you as a GM is just like, I don't know which way you're going to go, but I feel like you, based on your influences, I'm going to give you, I'm going to give you edge on that, right? I'm going to give you an edge on being able to like turn left or turn right on this big moment in time.
Absolutely. And let's give the same example. You're climbing the rock wall. It's raining, so you already have a shift down. And let's say you grab onto that next ledge, but it cracks and breaks. And so as it breaks away, I might say, hey, go ahead and make me an acrobatics check, but I need you to do it at a snag because it just broke away and you've lost your balance. And so you got to make sure you can catch it. But that kind of gives that environmental mishap to give that snag on the roll.
Exactly.
All right, so that's the nomad. The martial artist, you are really good at being a martial artist and given the opportunity to serve observe other. Oh no,
because we're picking two. Do we get two hang-ups or do we get one hang-up?
You only choose one.
Okay, so read each one and decide, no, not you. I just mean like if you're, people watching the stream, if you're trying to decide, like, know that you don't have to pick every single hang up if you pick.
You would just get the hang ups of your second and third influence, not your first. Your first would come with just the perk.
You get one freebie and then
I guess that
all
should be
hang-ups after that.
Yeah, which one do you want to be your first and which one do you want the hang up on? Do you want the hang up on the martial arts or do you want it on the nomad?
If I'm building this straight from a character, he's a nomad first and then a martial artist.
All right. Absolutely. So we'll do the hang up for the martial artists.
Yeah.
But first your perk, you can basically study another martial artist for 1 minute and learn about their capabilities compared to your own.
Wow.
The GM will tell you if the creature is equal, superior, or inferior in level or challenge rating and toughness and evasion defense.
That is super great to have in a battle. Like to be able to like size them up.
So as long as you have time to observe and watch your opponent or who you're fighting, or if you're at a martial arts tournament, you don't even have to be in your ranger uniform. Yeah. Martial arts tournaments are definitely a big part of Power Rangers. But your hang up, it can't help to be a little bit of a show off. And any attempts to goad you into action with social abilities gain edge against you.
Yeah.
So and other people have an easier way to goad you into doing things because you're a little bit cocky.
And this is the perfect example where a player might be at your table and might be like, well, I'm not going to fall for that. But the character would. And it's a perfect time to reference that in game. Be like, you know what? You wouldn't be goated, but you know what? I'm going to have you roll on that. You got an edge. That character has an edge against you, right?
It would be, they would roll against that character's cleverness or willpower, depending on which defense the GM thinks would fit best in that situation.
Gotcha.
So with that, that's our influences. Those are our 2 influences there. Those go right into the box there. The hang up goes into the hang up box. And that leads us to our essence points.
Ooh.
The bread and butter of this whole system. And with our essence points, you have the 4 S's, if you will, of the essence score. And that is strength, speed, smarts, and social. Your essence points, you have 20 points to spend, or you can take is it 20? Hold on, I totally just spaced. It is 12, not 20. My bad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that back. Take that back. All right. So your essence points, you have 12 points to spend however you so want to allocate them.
Gotcha.
Or you can take the standard common starting block, which is 4, 3, 3, 2. And you can use those to divvy up into your 4 essence.
So if you're new to RPGs, that's just how you might want to distribute your points, right? So if you're new to RPGs, maybe if you have $12, where are you going to put that $12 on your character sheet, right? Common distribution would be 4, 3. What is it? 4, 3, 3, 2. Is that? I can't count.
4, 3, 3, 2. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good. That might be a common one. Now, that does not mean you have to do that, right? Like you can can you throw all of them into one, right? You can.
I mean, you could.
You could do that.
You could, and then you'd have a 0. But bad things happen when you have a 0 and a score. So
yeah,
you don't know if
you want to be. You don't want to be fantastic at one thing, but can't walk down the street.
I guess you could put 1s in everything.
Yeah,
and then
I will say if you are a person that really wants to know the numbers and really wants to know how you want to distribute it, I will say if you are starting at level 1, a full spread probably isn't your best bet. A full spread of just like, I'm going to put 1 point in everything and then build an all around character. The system really wants you to build like a character, someone that you would know, not the perfect godlike like person that's like great in everything. So if you think you're gonna be able to like distribute points in a way that like you're great in everything, you're gonna be there a very, very long time. So if you're starting out at level 1, I think that the standards, and people are gonna disagree, but I think the standard stat like way of distributing things
is great.
Like it really works out. Like just because there are things on the sheet that you're going to want later, but kind of decide now where you kind of want to grow and just like throw some points in there. Like throw some essence in those places. And that's like really, now's a really good time to like choose where you want to grow and kind of stick with that, because it like at these lower levels, it really pays off if you just decide a couple. But if you try to decide like a full spread, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah. And that actually reminds me. And one of the things that I left off earlier from the roll is you actually get bonuses to your starting scores.
Yes.
So for instance, a Green Ranger, you'll automatically have +2 to strength and +1 to speed, just right off the strength speed. Yeah. You'll have +2 to strength, +1 to speed right off the bats. And as you level up, you'll always get bonus essence points to put in. You'll increase depending on your role. You'll get that bonus essence to immediately increase that essence score. And it varies. It's not just like green isn't always going to get strength. You get,
you can spend it where you want.
You get all of them.
Yeah.
And so depending on your level, level 2, instead of, you might get a social this time, or you might get a smarts at level 3.
Yeah.
And the chart in the character section of roll, in the roll section, tells you exactly where those go. It's a wonderful chart, and it just kind of tells you exactly what you're going to increase when.
Yeah, and it's pretty balanced too. Like it's going to grow you. You're going to grow nice into this character,
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, we have our standard array of 4, 3, 3, 2 going down. We are going to kind of once you divvy up those, that's when we are going to spend our essence points into our skills. So you already have your starting skills, but now we're going to increase even more as we go into our essence points and increase those even more. And this is when you really begin to start fleshing out your character and deciding what you want to do and what you want to be really good at.
Gotcha. Yeah, let's do this. So strength.
Yeah.
We
already know that we're going to have +2 to strength and +1 to speed right off the bat.
Gotcha. So it kind of starts off pretty good. Like he already starts off like pretty good in strength. So, again, I don't want to do like a nice spread or anything like that. But I feel like this is one of his most important ones. One of his most important ones got to be strength or speed. So for strength, I'm going to give him +3. Just because he's kind of doing pretty well in strength already.
Yeah. You have a base right now. You have a base of 3 in strength right off the bat, because you chose strength from your origin. And so that's going to immediately give you a 6 if we put a 3 into strength. Yeah. And that will go kind of right here in this black box on the character sheet, or this white box right next to the strength in this little black box area here. And that's where that 6 will go.
Okay. So that black box is the total. The total of my origin, your essence, my role, my
strength
essence.
Total.
Gotcha.
Yep. Next up will be your speed. Okay. Now, the dagger you chose is finesse, which is a speed-based skill. Just to kind of give you that idea, it'll use your finesse roll instead of a might roll, just so you know.
Yeah, it's a 4 here. This is where I want to put my 4. Just because like I already see, I could already tell that he's going to start, based on his origin and his role, he's going to start building in strength very easily, but I want his complementary one to be speed in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's going to, again, right there, we'll go ahead and that'll make it a 5 because you got +1 from your roll. So 5 speed starting out. That'll move us next to our smarts. So now you have a 3 and a 2 left of your essence points to spend.
Gotcha.
And so.
Yeah, smarts. Yeah, I think he's pretty smart. So I'll go with a 3 on that one. Go. I don't want to leave him empty for social completely. So that's why I like picking that 4-3-3-2. It's you don't want to. You can dump them all into one and be like whatever, but like, man, I played with some GMs before that would like really exploit the fact that like his social might be 0. If I gave it for him.
And also, another thing to think about, like there is certain things that you can and can't do depending on how many points you have in something.
Yeah.
So like speed, for instance, if you don't have at least 3 points in speed, you can't take a full action. You can only take either a move or a standard action because you're just not quick enough on the draw. And so that's just stuff to think about, that the essence section of the book, chapter 6, breaks all of this down for you and kind of breaks down what you do with each of those, as well as goes into all of the skills of that, and gives you some example specialties, which we'll get into in just a second, because that's another great thing about this system is specializing.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream, is that if you're crunchy, if you love the numbers, if you want to know every single number on where the tree like goes out to, right? If I start here and then go there, then yeah, I recommend jumping and just like start researching towards the end of it, and kind of do it backwards. If that's how you like to play, right? If you like playing those numbers, I highly recommend doing it that way.
For sure. And that's the great thing about the system is you can do any of those. All right. So that's going to give us our starting essence points to spend into our skills. So we will have 6 points to spend in strength, 5 points to spend in speed. Well, that's a tongue twister. 5 points spend in speed. Say that 5 times fast.
I can't even start it.
3 in smarts and 2 in social.
Okay, cool. So why don't we just go through all of these real quickly? I think if we go through, like, if you explain, we'll go through strength, we'll go through speed next, and I'll have you add these points in. I want I'll give you my notes. I want this to be, you know, we're doing a strong guy. He knows how to fight. He loves fighting. And he's not like he's a smart fighter, right? Like he's quick too, on top of that. Probably doesn't have the best social skills, but he probably knows like some underground stuff, being a nomad, right? Like, he's able to like read people too. But yeah, very good at like survival and, all those things. So let me have you, distribute, those for me.
All right, so let's go ahead and just jump 2 into athletics, because as you said, he is a martial artist, so I definitely think he's going to be athletic in some point. So let's go ahead and bubble in 2 on that.
Okay.
We're already 1 brawn. Let's go ahead and increase up to a D4 into brawn, since he is a strength guy. Might is, we definitely want to put some more into might. So
yeah,
we've already put 1 into conditioning, but let's go ahead and do 2 into might. But instead of going up to a D8, let's keep it at a D6 and let's specialize.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that you can specialize in is martial arts of might. And so you're a martial artist. This character's a martial artist. And one of the great fun martial arts that is might-based is Muay Thai. And Muay Thai is such a fun way of a fighting style where it's all elbows and knees and you're just using the might of the body against your opponent.
So if you're watching this now, we're adding to these dice pools. That's what the D2, D4, D6 means. So if you have to roll, if your GM tells you, oh, roll me an alertness, right? Or roll me, in this scenario, it'd be roll me a might, right? If you have those 2 bubbles filled in, you'll roll a D2 and a D4, right?
You'll roll your highest. So
yes.
In this moment, let's say we're at +3 might, which means we're at a D6 might. So if I'm saying go ahead and make a might attack against this target, you'll roll a D20 and a D6, and you'll add them up, and that's what you get.
Yes.
Now, specializations allow you to roll all of your dice in your dice pool.
Yes.
So
but it has to apply to that specialization though. That specialization.
Yep.
Well, might covers a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things. Muay Thai is close fighting range, right? Like
so if you're not using any weapons, you're not using anything, and you're just going in, melee with just your bare hands, then you'd be like, I'm going to go into a Muay Thai attack against this. And I'd be like, all right, cool. Go ahead and make me a Muay Thai roll.
Yeah.
And then you're going to roll a D2, a D4, and a D6. And you're going to take the highest of those 3 dice and add it to your D20.
Which is a really creative way of doing that roll. Because honestly, I've had it where those lower ones have helped me more than the higher dice, right? Like the D6 does it. You're not always going to win on a D6, right?
Nope.
Like sometimes a high D4 and you roll a 4 and you roll a D6 and you get a 2, you know what I mean? Like that's where that stuff really helps you out. So as you're filling these out, you can spend essence points. Do you do this now or you do it later, or usually after? I feel like level 1's kind of hard to like start specializing and stuff unless you like really, really know.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that we noticed early on in Day of Destiny is those who specialize when you have a D2 doesn't really do anything unless you get a shift up.
Exactly.
So waiting until you hit a D4 or even a D6 to specialize will really help you utilize that aspect of the system.
Yeah. So if you specialize, so again, number crunching person, just anyone, I think that's a great tip to like give someone, especially at these lower levels. So if you are thinking like, oh, I want to try this specialization, right? But in that section, like in might, if you only have a D2 in might and you want to specialize in it, it's kind of a wash. Like it only comes up in like, in shifting, right? Like shifting would be the only time when that would actually like, you would really benefit from that essence point. You're better off at putting that essence into something else now and then specializing in something later when you have a D4 or higher.
Correct. That
that's
is
kind of the best way to do it. Otherwise, you're just kind of like sitting on this essence point and you didn't get a chance to use it.
Yep, absolutely. It'd be no different than if you just rolled it regular
Exactly.
because you only have a D2 in it. Yep.
Exactly.
So that is going to fill out all of our strength skills. So you'll have a D4 in athletics, a D4 in brawn, a D2 in intimidation, a D6 with a specialization into martial arts, Muay Thai, and might, and you have +2 on your conditioning, bringing your total health to 4.
Awesome.
All right, moving down to speed. Now, acrobatics is your ability to balance, flip, run on tight ropes, things like that, doing a back handspring, landing and rolling from a high thing. That's going to all be acrobatic stuff. Driving, it's your ability to drive things, whether it's a car, a plane, other things like that. That's where specializations come in. But driving is your standard thing. Even like VR driving, I've even seen where it's like, I'm really good at Mario Kart, but I am terrible at actually driving. Well, maybe you have a specialization in driving video games.
Yeah.
Finesse is going to be the speed version of might, and so finesse is going to be your quick martial arts, your size, your kunai daggers, things like that. Your dragon dagger is a finesse-based weapon, so you're going to roll more finesse than you are might with your power weapon. But if you're using your blade blaster, the dagger part will use might. Infiltration, that's going to be your stealth, your ability to sneak, hide, things like that. Pick locks would also be infiltration. Initiative is how your place in combat, where you end up in the initiative order. You would roll a d20 when combat begins and add your initiative die to that roll. And then targeting is ranged attacks. That's when you are firing your power blaster in the so your blade blaster in the ranged setting. Or the Pink Ranger uses a lot of targeting because they're a bow user, a power bow user, or other things depending on the pink version of which pink you are and which era of Power Rangers.
Yeah, how the character sheet is laid out is pretty nice in terms of these 4 abilities: the strength, speed, smarts, and social. So as you're playing the game, you can really just go down one column, go down another column, and it's not as hard as some other games have you like bouncing in a weird alphabetical order way where it's all mixed up all together and you're kind of like bouncing from here to there to there. But this one's nice because if you're in a fight, okay, well, I know I want to do something physical. Let's look on the left side. Oh, I want to do something with, my smarts or the social or what's around me. Okay, let's look on the right side. You're role playing a lot. You're probably using, some smarts and some social in there. And then, I don't know, I'm a visual person. So like having that laid out like that really, really works for me.
Absolutely. And so with that, you already have the +1 in finesse from your roll starting skill. So with that, I think we kind of spread it out a bit. Not necessarily just from what you've told me, not really care about driving or being stealthy. He's definitely the showboat, which comes from his, martial artists able to be goated. And there's not a lot of range. I see him more up close and personal, getting in there with the fisticuffs, if you will. So let's go ahead and we'll give you a D2 in initiative, just to give you a little bit of something when you roll initiative. Yeah. +1, let's give you a D2 in acrobatics, just so that you can do some of the flips and fun things like that. But let's really go big on finesse. So we already have 1, so let's go ahead and add up to a D6. And then we're going to specialize in your power weapon, which is the dragon dagger. So we're going to have specialization power weapon. So that way, whenever you make an attack with your power weapon, it's a specialized attack and you can roll all your dice. So that'll really help in combat to really get things going.
Yeah. And that's something that's like really cool about this. And what I was talking about earlier, where you really start seeing the benefits of the system. If you can just decide, I want to grow here, I want to grow there, because each thing that you've read off already has like a bunch of different types of like specializations that you can put in there.
But Also on that, if you're like, well, I don't know what I want to specialize in, the essence chapter under each of the score of the strength, speed, smart, social have bonus, or not bonus, but suggested specializations under each skill.
Awesome. Actually, this would be a great place to stop and just mention why we're here today. We're streaming for Roll20Con. That is 3 days of gaming for charity. The charity that we're raising money for, you can see the Tiltify right down below, is for code 2040. It helps people of color in the tech industry. And you are watching the Power Rangers RPG first look with Carlos Luna and Dustin Fletcher. I think you're to the left or to the right of me. I don't know where you are in this layout right now. But if you are watching this live at 2 p.m., right after this stream coming up, you can watch a stream called What's New on Roll20, where we talk about new features and new things coming to the platform that we are announcing. And at 4 o'clock after that, you can catch Gabe Hicks and Elise Renendez as they go through their adventure, the Festival of Emeralda, which is an adventure that they made specifically for Roll20Con, and you can get for free on roll20.net. If you are interested in playing games, check out roll20con.net. You can sign up for games. There's a whole bunch of games going on this weekend. People are running on the site, so you can jump in. If you've never played an RPG before, that's great. Go to roll20con.net and you can sign up for a game. There's tons of GMs just like showing people how to play different types of games. Not this game. This game's not out yet. But you can play other games kind of like it if you want to get an experience for RPGs, or if you just want to try out something that you haven't played before. Maybe you want to play Shadowrun or Fate, or I saw people are running Avatar. So if you like Avatar: The Last Airbender, people are running that game. Check it out. Roll20con.net. Back to you, Dustin.
When this game does come out, it will be on Roll20.
That's
and I
true.
believe pre-orders are available.
You are much better at this than I am. Yes, pre-orders are available for this game. You can buy them. You can pre-order now on Roll20. It'll have all this stuff that we're mentioning here.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Let's finish up this guy, and then let's walk people through some scenarios that they might have while playing the game.
Great. Well, from here on out, it should be pretty quick, because definitely more of the physical traits. So now we're getting into the social traits, which definitely a little lower with his personality. Not necessarily a bad thing, just helps flesh out that character. And so smarts, we have 3 points to spend. I'm going to go through everything real quick, and then based on what you told me, I think I already know where we're going to allocate those points. But alertness is going to be your perception, investigation, listening, things like that you're really paying attention to as the character. Culture is going to be your understanding of the knowledge of certain places, certain types of people, certain other aspects of like food and other things like that. Science, all types of sciences, biology, chemistry, all sorts of things that you may or may not see in your game. Survival is going to be your means to track, create a fire without using a match or a lighter. Things like that is going to be your survival. And then technology is all aspects of technology, whether it's grid tech or even just your basic, computer hacking, anything like that's going to be a technology role. So for him, I think we're definitely going to put survival, at least a D2 into survival, because you said he is a survivalist on some things.
Yeah.
But we're also going to give him, I think, up to a D4 in alertness, just because with a martial artist, you have to be alert to your surroundings and understanding. And I think we'll go ahead and give that aspect to him there. So that's your 3 points right there, already filled in. Social. Your social skills, again, we're going to breeze through these. We only have 2 points to spend in this one. But animal handling, pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
It's how you handle animals.
Yeah.
Is the dog going to bite your hand when you go to pet it? Is the horse going to kick you when you walk around it? Well, roll animal handling and let's find out. Deception, your ability to lie. Performance is your ability to, sing, dance, act, things like that. Persuasion, convince and talk people into doing things. And then streetwise is, understanding lingo and other aspects of, maybe finding out, hey, I know a guy who does this on the side, and that would be like a streetwise role. Definitely think I'm going to give you a D2 into streetwise, just because he grew up traveling around, and so easy to find that out. And then maybe we'll give you a D2 into deception.
Yeah.
Because
and when you're saying
you are rebellious, so
when you're saying D2, you mean we're gonna put 1 point, 1 essence point,
essence into that.
Correct.
Yes. We're gonna bubble in that D2 bubble.
Gotcha.
And that is 1 point.
Excellent. Cool.
All right. So now that we have all of our essence score totals, now we can fill in our defenses. So
gotcha.
Our defenses are toughness for strength, evasion for speed, willpower for smarts, and cleverness for social. And how you get the toughness, evasion, willpower, and cleverness is 10 plus your base score in those essence scores. So for toughness is going to be a 16. Evasion is going to be a 15.
Gotcha.
Willpower will be a 13, and cleverness will be a 12. Now, the boxes under that, that's your morphed power. That's your morphed defenses. The only one that changes at level 1 is going to be your toughness, because you have the armor on, and so that's going to increase by 2. So your morph toughness is going to be 18 instead of 16.
Oh, gotcha. And these are kind of like if someone were to hit you, this is what they're
Correct.
up against.
So what this is all your defenses. So instead of roll-offs, or you roll this, you roll that, you're always going to roll against a defense, and opponents are always going to roll against your defenses. And that can be in any situation. So in a fight, they're going to roll toughness for melee attacks and evasion for targeting attacks. Now, the great thing about the monster stat blocks that you'll get is it'll tell you what you're rolling against in that monster stat block, so that you, as the GM, can tell your opponents or your players, hey, I'm rolling against your toughness. Does a blah, blah, blah hit your evasion?
Yeah.
So on and so forth. In social situations, you're going to roll against cleverness or willpower. And that's what you roll against on that. Okay, so now that we're done with everything, before we get to equipment, we're going to go over the perks, because Rebellious gets a perk starting out at first level, your power perks and grid powers you get at higher levels, starting at 4th level and then up from there depending on your role.
We mentioned earlier that we wouldn't be going in depth in this section because you really don't get these until like 3rd or 4th level.
Yeah.
But some bonuses might including what we're going to do right now. So we're going to take a quick look at what that does for us.
Yeah, and so we are going to go through this. And so you got things like, these are going to be what really boosts your abilities and gives you just tons of boons as they really enhance your features. So acute senses, always alert, athlete's grace, defender. These are just some examples of them. But what were you thinking of with this character? Like, he's rebellious. He kind of grew up. Is there anything that you could think about? Like maybe is he in college? Is he going to something? Is he trying to be a certain thing? Like, what's driving him? Because that might determine what perk you take.
Yeah. So I think, he's a nomad. If we're playing that character of just like, rebellious, whatever, he's got to have some type of like soft spot for me. Like, that's the thing about like all these characters. It's like, hard on the outside, soft in the middle. So I think secretly he does want to, like, obviously fight and all that type of stuff, but I do see him as like kind of like a not maybe a healer type thing, maybe
maybe he's going to like EMT school or something like that. Or maybe he wants to be like not necessarily like a first responder per se.
Exactly. Yeah, because he doesn't choose like violence, but you know,
True. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because maybe he was, in the military, like, or maybe he's a nomad because he grew up like in a military family and maybe hung out with like medics, like combat medics, and maybe so he was like, okay, maybe I want to help people, while also being that kind of rebellious type.
exactly.
That's kind of pushing on that. So yeah, he's helping people, but he also has that rebellious nature. Okay, well, there's actually one called EMT Crash Course as a perk that really helps you kind of heal your allies and use medical kits to their fullest. So we'll go ahead and put that right here on the second page. That's going to go right under perks, and we'll fill that in right there.
Perfect.
All right, and then the last thing for this level 1 character is going to be your equipment. And we'll fill that in right here. And the equipment section has a beautiful chart that kind of breaks all of this down and gives you everything that you need on your abilities of your weapons, because especially your power weapons, now they're going to do certain fun things that you can kind of have a shift down to do more damage or more attacks, things like that. So the first thing that we have right off the bat is Brawling and Strike. That's your unarmed attack. So if you were to do a martial arts Muay Thai ability, that would be a brawling attack that you would roll. Brawling is going to be your might-based. Strike is your finesse-based. That will always do a 1 stun damage. Now, you can shift it down to do 1 blunt damage and actually damage them. But other than that, all it does is stun them for 1 round, and it doesn't actually harm them. Your Blade Blaster has 2 damages. It has the might and the targeting, and that will be, both of those will be either sharp or energy. Sharp is your might. Your energy is going to be the targeting. Now, your Dragon Dagger has fun stats. I'm going to go over these real quick just because they're super fun. Now, the Dragon Dagger, because it can be unique and it can be anything, we're going to base them kind of mimicking the power daggers, which is similar in size and is a finesse-based power weapon. And so with the power daggers, they are a sharp one, but what you can do with it is you can do multiple targets. You can hit 2 targets at once, and that's going to downshift you 1. And then you can also, once per encounter, downshift for 1 and do 3 energy damage as you do a massive blow. Now, if you haven't picked up on it yet, the system is very low health. It's very low damage. 90% of things are only going to do 1 point of damage. No matter how much they hit you, how big they are, they're going to do 1 point of damage. Some things may do a little bit more. Once we get into like the Zords and, the Megazords, those are going to do, 3 to 5 damage. But that is like, to a regular person, 5 damage is godlike in damage in this system. 90% of things is going to do 1.
Gotcha.
And that's it. That's the character. Except for one very important thing. We need a name.
Oh, yeah.
We need a name for our character.
Okay. We got Rebellious Green Ranger. Let's see. What are you thinking? Because I love a good pun. I'll just stop you right there. I love a good pun.
If you've watched our show, you know that is the quickest way for me to assign something else that I want to talk about as we think of our name, and that's story points. And story points are a huge part of this system because story points are a cumulative.
I don't know.
Words are hard. A gathering of points that everybody has on the table. And so everyone will start the game with a pool of story points equal to the number of players, and you spend those points to do things like re-roll, to automatically gain a specialization in a skill, amongst other things that you can use the story points for. You gain story points from great role play that the GM will be like, I love that, have a story point. Some perks and other boons give you story points when you do certain things. And if you roll a 1, a critical failure, you gain a story point for failing.
Which is really great. Like, no one likes to fail in games, right? Failing's a part of games. I think it's very important that games have failures. But it does a really good job at like being like, hey big guy, you know what I mean? Just, things are going to look up in the future, and just handing you like a little story point right there. Which is nice. And honestly, like, we played for days and we were like, use a story point, like just like screaming at each other.
It was screaming. And it's such a fun way, and it just really builds that community and that teamwork. As you're all like, no, use it, no, use it.
The game does a really good job at like sometimes you play role-playing games and you're kind of just you taking care of you the entire time, and then if you're in a fight you're still kind of taking care of you unless you're like a healer type person or whatever. But the game does a really good job at like having you play with your team and being good with your team and giving you like these. We didn't go through all of those like all the player stuff, all the roles or all the perks or anything like that. But there's a lot in there that like that like give you benefits for playing with your teammates and like helping them out during battles and stuff like that. And story points, when they start being communal, that's what it is.
Communal.
I said it instantly. I couldn't do it before. But when story points start being, because they're great when they're communal, you're constantly trying to like give a gift to someone at the table sometimes, right? Because like your failures can be someone else's success. While you're playing, like you could have rolled 3 1s in a row or whatever. And in some other game, you might be thinking, like, those are my points. Like, I earned them. They're for me. But no, like in this system, it's like everyone.
It's all about, it doesn't matter who gets the point. The group has it to use.
Exactly.
So that also reminds me of critical successes. In other games, it's the D20. You get a natural 20. That's success. Not in this. That's not a crit. In this system, the natural 20 is just a high roll. The critical success is when you roll that on the skill die of a D4 and up. So that 4, that 6, that 8, that's going to be the critical success that really showcases that score in this system.
Is it any in the dice pool, or is it
D4 and up?
D4 and up. Okay.
Yep.
So
not on the D2.
Okay. So if the D2. So yeah, you have like a ton of chances then, like of actually getting that critical success as you start playing the game. So as you start growing, like you'll get bigger swings.
And I will say that only if the total number is a success from the difficulty, then it's considered a critical success.
Gotcha.
But if you rolled a 3 on your D20 but a 6 on your D6,
the 6. Yeah.
It's still gonna miss or fail as far as that goes. But if it succeeds passes the total number, passes the difficulty, it is considered a critical success.
Awesome.
I sidetracked. We're talking about a name. We're talking about puns. I think the only name we can name this Green Ranger is Forest Green with an E on the end of it.
Bravo. Fantastic. I 100% believe there was someone in the phone book called Forest Green, and therefore it's a real person. That's how I can decide whether or not a name is good. It's whether or not it's in the phone book. Do phone books exist anymore? I don't even know. But yeah, cool. Awesome. Forest Green. Look at man.
Forest Green.
He's so cool.
But I mean, Green. Because
because whatever.
No, we're not gonna be right on the nose.
Yeah, no. Forest Green. That's great. Yeah, my favorite crayon.
Yeah, totally. All right, so we have a character. We have everything we need.
Yep.
So now let's jump into the Roll20 adventure side of it. The battle, the adventure itself. where Roll20 really shines with the digital terrain, the digital maps that you can really utilize with this adventure, I'm excited about. And it's one of the features that I love about Roll20,
Yeah,
especially as a GM, to be able to do the layers and the fog of war and all of that. And this like system can easily incorporate that aspect as well. And I'm really excited to dive into that.
exactly.
So the starting adventure that you will get with your pre-order of Power Rangers RPG on Roll20 is broken up into 3 parts. The name of the adventure is A Fool's Errand. And so part 1, you start off as a brand new team of Rangers, and you are going to do a battle simulation to kind of help as Alpha 5 trains you and your team on how to be Rangers, how to utilize your abilities, how to morph. All of that stuff will be implemented in this battle simulator that you will get to kind of see combat for the first time in this system, but in a setting that's not going to defeat you or knock you unconscious, because it's a battle simulation.
Yeah, you guys are
And
level 1. You guys are level 1,
yeah.
right? This is how it would happen in the show, or in life. Yeah.
But through that, like as soon as that is defeated, there's an alert as a mystery of a kidnapping kind of makes itself known. So the Rangers kind of get teleported to follow up on clues, to look and to find out about these missing persons as they continue to move on, trying to find a common denominator between all of the missing persons and maybe who's behind it. That is gonna basically take them all around Angel Grove and kind of give you an overview of Angel Grove, because that's the other thing about this book is it has a full chapter on locations about Angel Grove. So you can get to really flesh out this fictional city that is so just embedded in Power Rangers lore.
Exactly. And the book, so the Power Rangers role-playing book that you're purchasing is, I would say, like 85% like building like the world, building the character, like having all these options, all the rules and stuff that really make out of it. And then there is a small adventure, which we're explaining right now.
Yep.
It does such a good job at giving you all the other stuff that you need, though, that you can easily build your Angel Grove. Like you can go on Roll20, make new maps, and just like make it your own. Again, if you're new to RPGs, this game really stresses that you can make it your own, that you can really do your own thing and build your own thing. All you got to know is like how to build characters and how they interact with each other, right? Like how to actually, like how the mechanics actually work. And then you're kind of off to the races, because a lot of what you would have to learn about the world in another book, if you've watched this show, you probably already know, like, these relationships or these like places that you would go in Angel Grove.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that leads us to part 3, which is the Rangers will make their way to the Angel Grove Pier, where the final showdown takes place. Now, I'm not going to spoil who the final showdown is against, because we're going to leave that a surprise. But you're able to have a fun battle, or maybe a not so fun battle, depending how the dice roll, and hopefully bring down this villain who has been kidnapping people all across Angel Grove, as you Rangers will race to save the victims and their families, and possibly the entire city of Angel Grove.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and it's great. It looks beautiful. There's, it's a really small adventure, but again, the big part of the book is building the world. But yeah, like if you purchase it on Roll20, you have access to all this stuff, and you can start building your own Angel Grove, your own Power Rangers, and just jump into a game. On Roll20, you have video and voice, so like really you just go to the website and then you're able to like start playing the game.
Yeah.
and start building it. We pre-set up the tokens as well. So like you have to build every putty. Like there will be putties there for you to copy and paste, and they'll be statted and all that stuff. And you roll dice inside the thing too. But yeah.
It's such an incredible thing. I mean, Roll20 really is just such an incredible tool set that makes running a brand new system that has never been released before literally as easy as point and click.
Yeah, and that's
awesome.
And that's the great part too about like purchasing a book like this is Roll20 goes through and kind of separates the book from itself. So if there's an adventure in a book that you bought, they take that away and then they design it for you. Like they take the maps out of there, right? They set up the maps on different pages. They set up the tokens for you. They set up the encounters. So you're not doing that the day of and setting things up. And also the adventure part is in a different section than like all your rules and, all the perks and origins, because you don't want to be flipping through that part of the book when you have your characters, right? Like you shouldn't have to flip through the first 80 pages of a book just to find the one part of the adventure that you want. And that's that's one of the other perks of using something on Roll20 like this.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, this is great, Dustin. Thank you so much for running us through this. Thank you. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything you got going on?
Well, thanks for having me. This has been an absolute blast. It's been great to finally virtually sit down together since we sat down to play Power Rangers.
Months ago, yeah.
Months ago. You can check out Day of Destiny, the Power Rangers RPG actual play that Carlos and I played. I GM'd with an incredible cast, including Carlos Luna, Erica Fermina, Xander Jeanneret, Katie Wilson, and the wonderful Aaron Gray. Played the incredible team of Rangers, including a special guest in the finale. That all of that is available on the Renegade Game Studios YouTube channel, so check that out there. You can also find me every Sunday, so later today, you can find me at 4 p.m. Pacific time over on twitch.tv/rockpunchatl, where I am the co-DM of a 5th edition actual play called D4, where we are a cosmic horror through the Forgotten Realms as we torment and torture our players. Like you do.
Yeah, like you do. Once again, I'm reminding everyone who's watching this stream, donate to code 2040. That's why we're here. We're here for Roll20Con. Roll20Con is 3 days of gaming for charity, where we raise money for one of our favorite charities, which is Code 2040, that helps people of color in the gaming tech industry. Right after this stream, stay tuned, because there will be what's new on Roll20. So all our new announcements, what we have coming up, our roadmap, stuff like that. You want to tune in and watch that, want to see the new stuff that they're working on. That's at 2 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, sorry, Dustin, I have to, I know you have a game going on at 4.
Fine. It's all good. It's all good.
But join
I get it.
Gabe Hicks and Elise Renendez are going through their adventure for the Festival of Emeralda. It's a free adventure that we're giving away for Roll20Con. And if you want to start playing games, go to roll20.net. If we have a lot of games going on right now, if you go to roll20con.net specifically, you can sign up for free games that we have going on that people are running. So maybe you want to play Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Go to roll20con.net.
Yes, I do.
And you can sign up. There's probably someone running it, and that's a new system, so everyone's going to be new in that game. So if you ever wanted to run games, that's a great place to go too.
Look, if you happen to stop by D4 later today and you see me
get out of here. Thank you so much.
Doing this, I'm watching Gabe. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna have it up because I'm gonna be watching Gabe so I'm literally just gonna be That's why we have two DMs, so I can pay attention to.
It's called a dual stream. They're going to be dual streaming at the time, unbeknownst to Gabe. They'll be like they'll both be doing it the same. Anyways, thank you for joining us so much. I'm Carlos Luna. This was great. Stay tuned for what's new at Roll20. Bye, guys.
Donate.
Hello and welcome to.